Kevin Holland, Derek Brunson. This was billed in many respects as, the breakout show for Kevin Holland, right? The coming out party. The man won 5 fights in 7 months in 2020. Back end of 2020 was on the short list for 2020 Male Fighter of the Year. Here he is taking a step up in competition against Derek Brunson, a guy who, by the way, he called out. And quite frankly, it was never really close. Derek Brunson dominated that fight from start to finish, in large part due to the wrestling. And so let me ask you this, DC, because the big talking point after this fight was Kevin Holland was a goof off. He didn't take it seriously. He talked too much. He got exposed, all that stuff and more. Here's the big question from me to you at the very beginning of this fight. Of this conversation about this fight, which, of course, Brunson won by unanimous decision. Does that fight go any differently, in your opinion, if Holland doesn't say a word, if he doesn't act the fool, if he doesn't talk smack, if he doesn't do all the other hijinks? Do you think that fight goes any differently whatsoever? Because as you know, people are blaming him for that.
What a question. I mean, that's a great question. And I never thought about that. Ariel, I can say I don't think so. Because he would have just been quietly getting taken down, right? Don't you think? I mean, he hasn't shown that ability yet, right, to defend those takedowns at that level. It's not like he was talking in the middle of getting taken down. He was trying to defend. He just doesn't have the knowledge of takedown defense that allowed him to stay up. So I don't think it made that much of a difference. I don't think if he was quiet, it would have made much of a difference. And honestly, Ariel, I know Kevin Holland now. We built a relationship. He was supposed to come out and train before the fight. They had the snowstorm in Texas. He ended up driving out to Vegas for a little bit, worked out there, never made it up to San Jose. So we talked. After the fight, I'm in the bed, and I just text him, Kevin. He immediately writes back, I'm sorry. Immediately. He just writes back, I'm sorry. And I was like, don't apologize. I go, don't apologize. I said, it's what you do with what happens next. I said, now you have to improve. I go, take some time with your family and then find a way to improve and get better in the area that has proven to be an issue for you. He goes, absolutely. I go, he said, I feel like I let a lot of people down. I go, you didn't. I said, what you have to do now is continue to be a role model for the kids that are watching you and want to be like you. So just fix it. That's it. That's all I told him. Just fix it. And so he said, you know what? You're right. I'm going to get some time with my family, take a little bit of time, and I'll be up in San Jose very shortly. So he has the right attitude. But back to your question, no, it would not have been different because he doesn't really understand takedown defense at a level that would allow him to stop a guy like Derek Brunson, who is just a fantastic wrestler and a longtime veteran.
Okay, so then let me ask you this. And by the way, that vibes was something that he told me after the fight because I reached out to him to do an interview with him, which I'll do later today. And I said, I'm sorry, it went down that way. He said, don't be sorry. I'm just mad that I let everyone down. And so it's clear that he's hurting from this, but maybe not for the same reasons that people may think. So let me ask you this. Can Kevin Holland realize his potential? Can he be a future contender / champion as the same guy, or does he need to cut all that out in order to realize that potential?
No, part of the reason Kevin Holland is viewed in the way that he is because of that, right? Initially, he drove Dana crazy with being a big mouth. But then by the end of it, Dana was almost like into it, right? Mm-hmm. He was entertained by Kevin Holland. That's why you saw Kevin Holland in a main event. But obviously, he won 5 fights in a row too, honestly. But there's so much to Kevin. So I believe that part of his personality has to continue and stay that way because it's funny. And you know what? It allows him to be so loose. I watch the best fighters in the world champions, look so nervous when they step into the octagon. Kevin Holland is the most loose person I've ever seen going into a fight. And he has to keep that. But I'm telling you, it just boils down to him defending takedowns. And once he can do that, he will really put himself right back where he just was. And hey, there's no shame in losing to Derek Brunson. Derek Brunson is a stud. And this is the crazy thing about this fight. And Kevin Holland winning all those fights in a row, talking in the way that he does, being entertaining, you forget about Derek Brunson a little bit.
Yes.
Because Derek Brunson is the lunch pail, blue-collar guy that goes to work, gets the job done. So when Kevin wins, he's the talk of the town because of how he acts. Kevin lost, he's still the talk of the town,
right,
and he lost. But what about the guy that won the fight that doesn't say anything? So there's something to his personality that draws people in, and I believe Kevin needs to continue to be that way, but learn to wrestle.
So for whatever it's worth, I agree with everything you said. That fight goes no differently if he talks or doesn't talk. I think the fact that we are focusing on Kevin in the aftermath speaks to the kind of personality he is and potential star he can be. It's also incredibly disrespectful to Derek Brunson, who has now won 4 in a row, who continues to be put in this spot to, kind of build future stars, off of his back. Just happened with Edmund Shabazian, won via TKO in that fight. 3rd round. This time he derails the hype train that is Kevin Holland. DC, I noted this on Saturday night. We're now exactly this month, 10-year anniversary of Zuffa buying Strikeforce. You can make a very strong case that Derek Brunson is one of the final fighters who came over from that deal, who is still thriving in the UFC. He's on a winning streak. There's names like Masvidal left, Woodley's on the losing streak, Robbie Lawler's kind of, teetering towards the end. There aren't that many names left. Derek Brunson, you can make a case along with Masvidal, probably the most successful of the ones left. Overeem's gone. We'll see what happens with Rockhold. That's a testament to this man who stumbled a couple of times throughout his UFC career, and we don't talk about him as enough. To your point, not flashy, doesn't talk trash, doesn't have, the crazy stuff. But ever since he went to South Florida and started working with those guys over at Sanford MMA, Henry Hoofton Company, he's turned into a viable threat at 185 pounds. So I don't like the fact that we're focusing on what Holland did or didn't do, because guess what? This fight goes the exact same way if Holland keeps his mouth closed the entire fight. That wasn't the problem here. The problem was Derek Brunson and his wrestling.
Derek Brunson's wrestling was just too much for him. And honestly, it's going to take some time for Kevin to develop the skills to defend those. And honestly, we have already tried to address what he wants to do. Let's hope that he follows through on that and we can help, because not only did I say it, all the guys on the team are like, yes, we can help this kid learn in that area. Because again, you have to be around great wrestlers that are going to take you down 100 times for you to get up 101 times. And then eventually it'll be 100 attempts without you getting taken down. And that's what Kevin Holland needs to beat a guy like Derek Brunson. But Derek Brunson's no easy out. So it's a credit to the athletes that he's fought that have defeated him and gone on to become champion.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.